Hey everyone, thanks for being here. I am just making sure everything's getting going. Just give me a second here. All right. So today we are going to do a bit of a shorter live, and I'm going to do the basic collar today. So this sort of quick version I've been doing of the shirt with sort of the non-decorative pieces, we'll say. I'm going to attach this collar. I'm going to show you guys how I do it the quick way. The way I'm not going to pin anything. I didn't even measure anything. I'm going to attach it and then do some finagling to make it the right size. And then also I'll show you guys too that the double pointed needle, and I'll install that for you guys so you can see it, and I will show you. I'm not going to stitch it with you guys, but that's what I will use on this hem, which you can see here. And one second, I'll make my table bigger. I guess I should have welcomed everyone. This is the Concord Sew Along with Seams, and we are very close to finishing up the t-shirts. So this is part 3 of the sew along. If you want to see the beginning of the t-shirt, head on over to part 1 or part 2. That's where I sort of start off. There we go. Okay, so now you guys can see the table a bit clearer there. All right, so you can see, I mentioned it last week, the hem tape. I've attached it here using an iron. I've pressed it on. That's going to help keep that hem stable. And then I'm going to fold and fold. And then I'm going to use a double pointed needle to stitch along the top here, creating a really nice hemline. On the neck, we have, you got to turn this right side out. Oh, and I'm going to do the double pointed needle and hemming the same way along the sleeves as well. I don't think I'm going to use hem tape there though, because I want this to be able to stretch and retreat without any restrictions. All right, so on the neck we have this piece here. And so this piece is actually, I didn't measure it, I didn't follow the pattern. I simply took a 2-inch strip, cut it down the length of whatever fabric I had, and now I'll attach this. I also did give it a press to try and press it in half. This fabric has been curling up on me pretty bad though, so it only looks sort of like what we need. If this was the pattern piece and I had this all measured up properly, I would have sewn this together, you know, end to end somewhere along there, and then pinned it around where the notches were. Or even sometimes I just do an approximation. I sort of, you know, and the neck piece should be smaller than the neck hole, right? So you always want it to be a little like going straight and then maybe straight down, and you know, so it has to stretch, because if it doesn't stretch, it's going to stick out and like stick out from the shirt, and you want it to lay flat. And in order for it to lay flat, it needs to stretch around the base a bit, and so that the outside is like longer than the inside, and then it'll curl around nice. But instead of doing any of that, what I'm going to do is take this to the machine, and I am going to simply sew and stretch slightly as I sew. And if I am doing this right, and it looks like, I have plenty here, so it should, hi Fury, welcome. Yes, thank you for joining. If I am hopefully I should be doing the right amount of stretching, and since I have more than enough left, I won't end up short. So this should be perfectly fine to do. And so yeah, if you guys give me a second, I will take you over to the sewing machine, and we're going to do that with a zigzag. Okay, yeah. Maybe with a temporary kitty break here. Sometimes guests don't want us to move forward with the project. All right, Kittis, I need to, I need this. Yeah, I need this. I'm sorry. I know. All right. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Gonna just awkwardly move the camera here. as you can see, I've got a really good helper. Just so ready to help out. All right. Okay, so we've got my machine set up here, and I am going to set it to a zigzag stitch, of course, because if we want any stretch to be apparent in any part of this, we need it to, we need to stretch. And I'm going to start about mid-back ish. You know, if you want to be like, if I had this already sewn up together, this the collar piece, we would try to make it exact mid-back. But yeah, in this version, I'm not going to do it. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to give ourselves room though. So I'm going to give myself a good tail end, and then I'm going to meet it up with about mid-back here. And let's get our zigzag stitch going, which is number 6. And we don't want that to be super wide. I'm going to do a 3.5. Oh. And yeah, actually 2 is good for that, for the length. All right, oops. Okay, so yeah, let's get these bits lined up. Try and make sure it's curling a lot, which is unfortunate, but try and make sure those curls get dealt with. Just so that they lay flat-ish, and then here we go. Okay, and so I'm going to remember to pull this slightly so it stretches, because you need that bit to stretch. That's the most important part. So let's crank up some speed here. And then also, as I'm going around the parts that have the most curve, that's where I'm going to stretch it more, just to pull that in a little bit tighter. So just, yeah, keeping the pieces together, giving it a stretch. I'm just giving a little bit more stretch here around the shoulder. Then I'm going to go back to sort of a normal amount of stretch. And you'll probably see that my collar piece here, I didn't iron it quite exactly in half. It's fine. I'm actually planning to serge this afterwards, after I get it attached. And then all that excess will be trimmed off. It's not a big deal. It's like, you won't, that's everything that goes underneath or in the seam allowance is like, it's fine. If I was being particular about how thick I wanted my collar, that would make me worry. Again, so I'm just folding in half, stretching, and I'm at the bottom of the neck again here, and so I am pulling a little bit more than I was along the sides. And you'll notice that I'm not kind of bracing if I was using an elastic or sewing an elastic like this, I would be a lot more careful about, I hope you guys can hear me. I'd be a lot more careful about this pulling, but I'm just pulling very gently. this is the important part now. So I'm going to stop there, and I'm stopping well before I'm done. So you can see that there's a gap there. Now what I'm going to do, in order to bind these pieces together, see I didn't measure it, I've got lots of excess here, but in order to now make it the right amount, I am going to go ahead and sew the collar piece together by just simply taking the same sides. There we go. And boop. So that's going to meet up together like that. And then I'm going to make sure it's not any longer than what's left here. So I got to make it pretty short. So I'm going to go ahead and now do this. Do it as straight as I can. I'm going to make the stitch width a little bit smaller. I'm just going to trim this down. All right. Okay, and so now you guys can see that I've cut that. Here, let's sort of finger press it open. And we can sort of finger press that down. And so now it's a closed seam, and it's right just the perfect length. And now I'm just going to finish off the seam. And I didn't backstitch when I ended or started, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Let's get this back in order. Whoops. All right. Okay. So let's take. Okay, so let's take this back over to the table so we can see this. All right. Okay, we are here. Okay, so now the next thing I would do is I would go ahead and iron this down, and I would iron, this is gonna iron towards the shirt. And yeah, so iron all this flat so it presses really nice and it's all in place. And then I would go ahead and top stitch along this. Sorry, there we go. And the top stitching, I would rather do the double needle, just like I'm going to do in my hemlines, or I would do a zigzag stitch. There was a long time when I was sewing before where it felt like a zigzag stitch was like a less professional stitch or didn't look as good, but I've actually kind of fallen in love with the zigzag stitch as I've sewn more, and I no longer feel that way. So I would have cringed before doing a zigzag stitch at the neckline, but now I embrace it and I love it even more. I think it also maybe is because I've changed my perspective. It's possible that it's because I've changed my perspective on how I view sewing. Sorry, I was just gonna transition so you guys could see my face. Yeah, so it's possible that because I now appreciate sewing like handmade garments and sewing not like ready-made wear, and I also appreciate how much sort of more effort and skill and time that goes into a homemade garment versus sort of ready to wear, that a zigzag stitch, it indicates to me that someone made it at home and therefore is like more precious. So I think that might be also a reason why I'm embracing the zigzag, but also because it's a very strong stitch. I think I had it in my mind before that it was didn't hold a seam very well, didn't look very clean, but it's actually the complete opposite. It's a very strong stitch. You just got to use the right width of the stitch and also separation of the stitches to get you a very clean result. But yeah, okay, so this one is essentially done. I would top stitch around there and then stitch this bottom and then stitch these sleeves. And then this guy is done. And then it's just such a really fast sew up like this when you're not doing all the facing pieces. I'm going to come back later and upload a video that's like a more refined video to do the facing and the V-neck collar, just because it's not ready to do tonight. But before we do that, we're going to take a look at the double pointed needle. So hold tight one more time. Okay. There we go. That's not so bad. Okay. So on a double pointed needle, you are actually, there's nothing, it does not require a special machine at all. And what it does is it does a zigzag behind while it's doing what looks like 2 straight stitches in the front. So this is a Cashmerette's version. Stretch double needle, if you guys can see that okay. The light is maybe making it a little bit wonky. Let's turn down the light a bit. But anyway, you guys get the point. So you get a double needle. There's nothing special. You literally are going to put it in your machine here. So let's see if I need my tools to pop the needle out. All right. So yeah, I'm just going to go ahead. Ooh, food. Okay. Sorry about that. There we go. Loosen that. Pop the needle out. Pop this needle in. Okay, and so what happens is you thread your machine twice. Some machines come with an extra little arm to hold a second thread, but if your machine doesn't have that, no, you can always just rope something up. I have something that looks like this. And it has a little hook at the top. This holds thread and allows me to thread it twice. I don't know why this camera is... Gosh, I hope that camera looks a lot more steady to you guys than it does to me. Alright, so we've got the needle in there. I tighten that, and I would just go ahead and thread it on one side. And I'm not going to use matching thread today. Hopefully I've got a scrap piece I can just show it to you on. Because so if I wanted to use matching thread and I only had one spool of this gray, for instance, what I would do is I would put a little bit on a bobbin, and then I would run the bobbin as my second spool. All right, so I'm just going ahead and threading this guy along the exact same path. I'm not going to thread it into the one closest to the needle. I'm just going to leave that one open. There we go. thread in there. Okay. Okay, and then I'm going to tug both of them at the same time just to make sure that they're both pulling evenly and I didn't drag anything up. All right, let's grab a piece of scrap. Okay, so I'm gonna fold it in half because things are easier if you're doing through 2 layers. And the one thing I want to make sure is I am not doing a zigzag stitch. Do not, you might run into trouble on your machine if you're trying to do a zigzag stitch. My other machine actually has a double needle setting, so I'm gonna, but this one doesn't. This one just has, and so I'm gonna make sure that it is set at mid point on straight stitch. Oops, I forgot to, here we go. So number 1, I'm pretty sure is my straight stitch in the middle, perfect. And then I can change the length of the stitch if I wanted. So I might do that, just a 3, because when I'm top stitching, I like to do a bit of a wider stitch than I normally would. All right, let's just do a few. Yeah, it seems like it's happy. Looking good. One thing that can happen is that the tension you might need to play around with your tension. Depending on the machine, I often have to lower my top tension a lot so it's not causing tunneling. And here, let's just look. I'll just do a few more stitches and we'll look at that. All right, go ahead. Cut this. Okay, can we see this? All right. I'm going to take this back over to the table for you guys to see if we can take a really close look at this. So hold on 2 seconds. I think this camera might be a better high definition camera. Okay. So we have got 2 lines there. One is gray, not very visible. One is light, and they look like straight stitches. So that's why I like the double needle, because that to me looks really clean, a really great way to finish. And then on the back here, you could kind of see it. It's in black. There's the black thread kind of zigzags back and forth, and you can see it pulling in the top threads. And that's exactly how it's supposed to work. Don't worry about those threads pulling through or if it seems too loose. Nope, that's just fine. And this allows it to stretch, which is amazing. And so that's a really great way to finish knits. It's one of my favorite ways to finish them very cleanly. And yeah, and so that's what the process I'll probably use, or not probably, I will use on this shirt. Sorry, now we've got a mess here. I'm going to finish it up on this shirt with this guy along the collar and along the hem. And then I will do probably zigzag on my blue one, but you guys will see that in a follow-up video later. Just it'll take a little bit more time than tonight. So that's what I have for you guys today. Thanks for being here to watch this, and I hope others are also sewing along with a Concord, or at least, getting to a Concord eventually. It's a very super basic shirt, so it's really nice to have a shirt you can do up very quickly if you need to, and then once you do it the first time, usually by the next time it's like even simpler, and then you can find your own shortcuts that help you out. But anyway, thanks for being here. Check out Seams for the last few days on the discount for the pattern of the month, which is the Concord, and yeah, hopefully see you guys for any time next time.